In this lesson, we're going to be talking about IP configuration. We're just going to be going through configuring IP on a Windows system and looking at the configuration that's in place. So I want to start out looking at the IP configuration on the system. So I'm going to start out just doing an ipconfig, and that shows me just the basic information for the different adapters that are on this system. I could also do an ipconfig/all, and that would show me some more detailed information like the default gateway, for example, the DHCP server, and some additional information that I don't get if I just do an ipconfig. You can see we've got the physical address or the MAC address, which is bound to the network interface. And we've got the IP address, and you'll notice it says IPv4 because this is IP version 4. And there is an IPv6 address as well. With the most recent versions of Windows and frankly most other modern operating systems, IPv6 is enabled by default. It's just not typically used unless you happen to be connected to an IPv6 enabled network. So now what I want to do here is I want to go into Control Panel, and we're going to walk through just doing a basic configuration. So the way this is set up right now is that it's set up using DHCP, and we've talked about DHCP, and we'll talk more in subsequent lessons about what DHCP is and how it works. But what DHCP does here is it provides me a configuration for my network settings without actually having to go in and manipulate them or manage them by hand. The system would come set default with DHCP. And so all you have to do is turn it on. If there's a DHCP server on your network, you're automatically going to get configured with an IP address and everything else that you need. And certainly if you are connected to a network that has an internet connection through a cable modem or a DSL modem, then those devices would typically have a DHCP server built into them. They're really simple to just plug in. You automatically get your IP configuration, and it's set for everything that you need to just automatically connect and be out on the internet as well as on your local network. So if I bring up properties on my local area connection, then I can go into Internet Protocol version 4. Now I want to select properties here. Now you see it's set to obtain an IP address automatically, and that would be using DHCP. What I could do is I could plug an address in here, and I'm going to use one that would be on this particular network. When I hit tab from the IP address, it populated the subnet mask for me based on what it thought the subnet mask probably should be, and that was really based on the classes of addresses that are here. So this 192.168.1 happens to be a Class C address, and the subnet mask for a Class C address would be this 255.255.255.0. So my default gateway is 192.168.1.1. My preferred DNS server, I could set 192.168.1.1 here because there does happen to be a DNS server in that. I could do validate settings upon exit, which would check all of my settings and make sure they are correct. And now when I close this, it should reconfigure the network interface for me. And now I can go back over here, and if I do ipconfig, you can see that it is set with the values that I had set in there. So it's now set to 192.168.1.210 with my subnet mask here, and the default gateway, of course, is 192.168.1.1. That's how you would do manual configuration using Windows and the network properties, as opposed to just allowing the default DHCP connection. If you needed to set an IP address manually using a Windows system, that's how you would do it.